drunk driving destroys lives. Here is Stephen Epstein, a top New York DWI attorney.
I have been successfully defending DWI charges for over 30 years. Please do not risk you or your family's life by driving while impaired during this holiday season. I have spent my career helping those that have made this mistake, and I'm here to help you if you need me. Please call 516-745-1500. BarkheadEpstein.com.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Joining us now to talk about this, you guys, and so much more, is Professor Alan Dershowitz, Harvard Law School Professor Emeritus. Also, his book is The War Against the Jews. Professor Dershowitz, we were just talking about this breaking news that the indictment has come down. He's been indicted. This is the killer, the accused killer of the healthcare CEO. And they attached terrorism to it, making it on the first count of murder. It's a furtherance of terrorism, saying that because he had this philosophy, that he was like inspired by a philosophy, and that he invoked terror because of the way he killed him in broad daylight in a busy part of New York City.
Of fostering ideology.
Exactly. Your thoughts on this and how important it was to get that attachment, that terrorism attachment, which a lot of people don't understand.
Well, I think it is important. I don't know that it will have a difference to a jury. The evidence is so overwhelming in this case. I don't see how anybody can deny the fact that he did the shooting in cold blood. He might try to raise an insanity defense, and the terrorism indictment will make the insanity defense much more difficult because it will allow the prosecution to introduce evidence of his political motivations. And, insane people don't generally have political motivations. Now, of course, in American history, virtually all the people who have killed presidents have had some mixture of politics. Some of them have had mental illness. But I don't think he's going to prevail on a mental illness defense here. New York law is pretty tough on that. There are some jurisdictions that are a little easier on that, but I think it's going to be an uphill road for his very excellent lawyer. He has a very good lawyer to make this case. I think what they're counting on is some kind of jury nullification. They're counting on one or two jurors slipping through the net and getting on the jury with feelings that, oh my God, the CEO probably had it coming, which is a horrible, horrible thing. I just wrote a piece today about that, saying nobody should be surprised that so many Americans on the left, college kids and others, are glorifying this murderer. They did the same thing to Hamas on October 7th. They were glorifying the people who murdered 1,200 people. So why do we surprise that they're glorifying one guy who murdered, one person? It's part of what kids are being taught today in colleges and universities, that the ends justify the means. There's no such thing as morality. There's no truth. It's only, intersectionality. If you're one of the people who is oppressed, you have the right to do anything you want against people who are oppressing you. Of course, this guy was anything but oppressed, came from a multimillionaire family, and we'll have to see what his mental state is all about. But I think the terrorism thing is going to make it harder for him to defend on grounds of mental illness. And that may be the reason why they put it in.
Yeah, Judge Weinberg, go ahead.
Alan, I want to ask you about Judge Merchan denying the motion to dismiss with respect to presidential immunity.
And that's the New York case against Trump.
That's the New York case brought by Bragg. And obviously that was just one grounds to move to dismiss, and we still have other grounds, plus we have the potential sentencing.
Yeah, no, do we have a potential sentencing? What Merchan is trying to do is be above the law. He's trying to basically say, look, I found him guilty. I charged the jury. I'm responsible for getting this guy 36 counts, and I'm not going to let him appeal because I know I'll be reversed on appeal. And so the judge is trying to manipulate the system by putting off the sentencing for 4 years, which would technically deny him the right to appeal. Now, I have urged Trump's lawyers not to accept that. If he puts off the sentencing and thereby the appeal for 4 years, they should bring a writ of mandamus to the appellate division saying he has a constitutional right to have an appellate court review this case. Whether you do it by mandamus or appeal doesn't matter, as long as you have a chance to be able to say there's no case here. There's no case here. And any appellate court should see through Bragg's indictment.
Plus, there's a whole multitude of reversible errors on Mershon's part, too, separate and apart from the immunity issue.
Yeah, and to have that sentencing hanging, that's what's outrageous.
Maybe he's going to retire. Maybe he's ready to retire. He
Terrible.
wants to have this under his belt before he retires.
Right, 4 years later after he gets out of the White House.
Bragg wants to have it under his belt when he runs for office. Look, Bragg's the luckiest guy in the world. He's the only guy who benefited from the killing of the CEO. He has an easy case. Even he can't lose that case. I mean, he lost Penny. He really lost Trump, although the jury ruled in his favor based on bad instructions. But this one, even he can't lose. And so he may run for election next year with at least one win under his belt.
That's amazing. Craig Eaton.
I can't think of anyone else to ask this question but you, Professor. Mm-hmm. Someone came out the other day and said there's a potential that Donald Trump can run for a third term. They said that nowhere in the Constitution does it say consecutive, but does it?
It doesn't say consecutive.
It doesn't say consecutive.
I don't think the framers intended to. Well, the framers of the amendment. Remember, the framers of the Constitution would have allowed George Washington to serve until he died. They didn't care. It was the framers of the amendment after Franklin Delano Roosevelt ran for 4 terms. There are two questions. One, does the Constitution prohibit a third term? And second, would the court interfere if he decided to run? Is that something that a court would look into? It's not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either, but it's an interesting question.
It's an interesting question. By the time he finishes his term, he's going to be, a little older than he is now, 4 years. By the way, I was with him on Friday night for close to an hour, and he's on top of his game. I mean, he is unbelievable. He was so sharp. We talked about everything. He was about to have a call with Netanyahu. We talked about Israel. We talked about Iran. We talked about so many things. And the guy was like a Socratic law professor. He was sitting there asking and answering questions like a 50-year-old, not like a 70, whatever he is. And so anybody who is claiming that somehow he is like Biden or somehow disabled is just lying through their teeth. I'm a witness. I was there. My wife was there. We were with him. We conversed with him.
Yeah, there's no comparison.
On top of it.
And even at the press briefing yesterday, it was like it was. Professor Dershowitz, you're terrific, and we love having you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Professor.
Be well. Take care. Bye.
Eden Memorial Chapels understands Jewish funerals can take many forms. Some are Orthodox, while others are more conservative or of a Reformed nature. There's no one better. With services close to all New York and New Jersey cemeteries, Eden Memorial Chapels offer fair and balanced pricing and can provide easy transfer of you and your loved ones to Israel. While you're grieving, they're here to take care of all the details so that you deal with less bureaucracy and have more peace of mind. Go to EdenMemorial.com. That's EdenMemorial.com.
I've been matchmaking all my life. I introduced my best friend and his wife. I introduced my program director, Kevin Drosch, to Inhala. And now I'm going to match you with Inhala. Yes, you two should sleep together. Skip the sleep center. Avoid the CPAP machine. Get in bed with Inhala. It's a custom-fit oral appliance. There's no bulky hoses or uncomfortable mask. Inhala works with your private medical insurance and makes the process seamless. I talked to the people at Inhala.com, and they're going to help you just like they helped out Kevin and his fiancée. She'll finally be able to sleep through the night while Kevin is using Inhala. Follow Kevin's sleep journey right here on 77 WABC. Now is the time for a treatment that is right for you. Visit Inhala.com or call 844-INHALA-1. That's 844-INHALA-1. So like my program director, Kevin, skip the sleep center, avoid the CPAP machine, get in bed with Inhala. Inhala.com, INHALA.com.